guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Phoenix Rising. Now, you probably noticed we are in my kitchen. We're in a very different setting, and if you are listening to this and not watching this and you saw the title, the How to Make Delicata Squash and Connect to Yourself, you're probably like, what the heck? Okay, so we're doing this a little bit differently. Honestly, I have no idea how the audio is going to translate into this. Hopefully it's fine, but normally I have headphones with a built-in microphone. But now we're in my kitchen. So if there is a little bit of an echo or anything, I apologize for that. But basically, I've been brainstorming a lot of different things. And number one, the reason I'm doing this in a kitchen is because I sent out an email over the weekend and I was asking you guys, hey, really quick, I'm just curious because you are on my email list, but also because you do listen to the podcast. I do want to make sure that I'm continuing to give you content that you're enjoying. So what would you like more of? And a lot of people, which doesn't surprise me at all. By the way, thank you to everybody who responded. A lot of people said they would love more healthy food and recipes, and other people said that they love the life advice, the mindset advice, and the insights. For me, so that was number one. The second reason I wanted to do this like this is because I have some of my best thinking when I'm in the kitchen cooking food. And I absolutely love food. I love loving people through food. And some of the best conversations I've had with other people is in my kitchen, in my living room, over food, over drinks. So I'm working on a lot of different things, but I am trying this out for this episode to kind of see how it translates. So for those of you who are listening to the audio as a podcast, it might be like somebody telling you a story and you're imagining being in the kitchen and going through this recipe, or you could be like, this makes no sense. I don't really understand this. Either way, here we are. Welcome to my kitchen. Here's the tour, the fridge, the stove, the microwave, and that's about it. Okay, so today I am going to teach you how to make delicata squash. You've probably seen this. But also, we are going to talk about how to connect to your true self and why you might feel disconnected. There's a lot of reasons I want to talk about this, and we're going to go through an entire recipe while we go through this. But I just was thinking recently about how so many times in life we just get so lost and we have this feeling of disconnect. So we have this feeling of disconnect that we are searching outside of ourselves for, and it's either a feeling of feeling like you don't belong anywhere, or feeling disconnected from your work or your partner or your job or whatever it is. And there's a lot of really specific reasons why you might be feeling that way. But the good news is there's a lot of things you can do to reconnect to your true self, to give yourself that sense of connection that you're looking for. So that's what we're going to talk today about as we go through how to make delicata squash. So you need one delicata squash, which looks like this. You've probably seen this and thought it was just like a fall decoration, but it's actually super delicious. You also are going to need coconut oil or coconut oil spray. You could also use olive oil. I've got some pepper, some Himalayan sea salt, and then this is just an all-purpose seasoning salt. You need a sheet pan, and then you need to preheat your oven to 450 degrees. Okay, so we're going to talk and we're going to cook because it's just fun to do. I am not a chef by any means, so 90% of the way that I do this is probably you're going to be like, what is she doing right now? But it works for me, so I don't really need to hear how to properly cut things. I don't care. I'm just teaching you how to make delicious recipes. Okay, so why delicata squash? A couple things. Delicata squash is a very starchy kind of vegetable. So now we're going to get into nutrition. It's a very starchy kind of vegetable, but it is packed full of magnesium, vitamin C, potassium, vitamins, and minerals. One delicata squash is maybe, I don't know, like 150 calories, like 5 grams of carbs, no fat. There's not, like, from a macro standpoint, it's mostly calories, but from a vitamin and nutrient standpoint, it's really good. Now, I would love to tell you that those are all the reasons that I eat delicata squash. That is not. The way I'm going to teach you how to make delicata squash makes it a really great substitute for French fries. So there's a couple ways you can do this. Sometimes people just like slice it in halves and they bake it, and then it is just like a squash. For me though, I love feeling like I get to eat food that I love while realizing I'm eating a lot of nutrition. And the way we're going to do this is like a substitute for French fries. First time I made this, I was like, why do I love this so much? And I was like, oh, because I feel like I'm eating a pile of French fries. So you need a really good knife. You're going to cut the ends off super simply. Do be careful because it is a squash, so it's not the easiest thing in the world to cut. Okay, so we're cutting those 2 things off, throwing that in the trash. Now, here's the part that I probably am not doing the right way, but it works. I am going to stab the middle, make a slice, flip it over, and then do it again because we want to half it. I mean, honestly, like, here's the thing, is like when I cook, the reason I love cooking is because you get so many life lessons. Like, there are no rules. There's really not. Just do what works for you. Okay, so if you saw that, I just like stabbed the middle, sliced. Now I'm flipping it over, slicing the other middle, and boom. Boom. So there's half of it. This is what it looks like inside. You have all these like, it kind of looks like papaya actually, now that I'm looking at it. You have all this nasty seed, gunk, guts looking stuff, all right? So what we're gonna do, I have a little paper towel here. You wanna scrape it out. Oh, I'm just using a spoon. So you can just go from the top. I wonder if this, like for everybody listening, I wonder if this is kind of like, is it called ASMR, AMSR, where like you're just hearing noises and clinking? And you're like, oh, this is kind of soothing. Or maybe your imagination is like, wow, I kind of feel like I'm in the kitchen with her. Either way, we're giving this a shot for this week's episode. Okay. So this is what it should look like, nice and clean in the middle. And we're going to do the same thing with the other side. So pretty much what's going to happen is as I'm like, this is going to take about 20 minutes in the oven. While it's cooking, we're going to dive even deeper into this conversation about how to connect to yourself, why you might be feeling disconnected. And like I said, I wanted to do this in the kitchen because like, when I have family over or friends over, this is how we have the conversations. It's usually like, hey, let me feed you and let's talk about life. Or like, here, sit on my couch. Can I make you some coffee? Can I pour you a drink? Whatever. All right, so these guts are over here. Some people like to roast this stuff. Honestly, like that is a lot of work to roast those few seeds. So what I'm gonna do is throw it in the trash. All right, so you want to take the coconut oil spray or olive oil, and you're just gonna squirt a little bit on your nonstick cooking pan. Just like that. The main thing is just so it doesn't stick. You're gonna take your delicata squash, you're gonna flip it over, and you are going to slice it like almost like the size of a French fry, actually. I never understood when I would read a recipe and they would be like, slice into 1/4 or 1/2 inch pieces. Like, what does that mean? Like, I know what it means, but like, who has a measuring tape and is figuring that out? It's like people that are like, you're gonna head north on this, east on this. Like, what does that mean? Am I making a left? Am I making a right? Like, give me a land marker. Anyways, okay. So you're gonna flip this over. You're gonna slice it like the size of a French fry. So kind of, if you can see this, it's like that thick, and that's it. You're gonna go all the way down the whole thing. You're just gonna place it on this pan and you're gonna slice it like that. Okay, while I'm slicing, we're gonna get back into this. So in the whole conversation about feeling disconnected, feeling lost, that feeling of like longing to belong, I would challenge you, if you're in that place, to let go of your strategies, okay? Let go of, and like what I mean by strategies is let go of your plans, let go of your meditations, let go of your tools. Like, so for me, my tools are always like journaling, meditating, visualizing, affirmations, and all those things. So if you're in a place where like maybe you're feeling a little lost and disconnected and you're searching, let all that go. And here's the reason why. A lot of times when we're feeling disconnected, when we have that sense of like longing to belong somewhere or to someone, that deeper part of us is actually coming from inside of ourselves. So when we get too caught up in our tools and our strategies and like, okay, so I know whenever I feel lost, I'm supposed to meditate, or I'm supposed to act the way that I want myself to feel, or maybe I'm supposed to like visualize and put myself out there and make this vision board. All of that is really great. However, sometimes it can become a little bit of a crutch, and it actually keeps you further disconnected, because what really needs to happen in order for you to feel connected to yourself is simply to be present to the experience of your own emotions. So what I mean by that, and like, we're going to get into this because everybody has different forms of escapism. And those of us who are a little more into like mindset, spirituality and all that, we're like, I don't escape. I don't do drugs and alcohol or anything like that. Like, I don't have any addictions. Here's the thing is you do escape. It's just different. Sometimes escapism from your current experience, I'm trying to throw this little string piece of that away. Okay. Sometimes escapism of your current experience is a little simpler than drugs, alcohol, or things like that. It can be you simply staying super busy. You're always coming up with a way to stay busy, or you're always coming up with work that doesn't actually need to be done in order for you to not have to be present to whatever needs your attention. Or maybe it's social media. Maybe you're on social media 7 hours a day or longer than that, instead of being present to the experience that your body is having or your emotions are having. These are all forms of escapism. Maybe what your soul really needs is for you to stop what you're doing and connect to yourself and listen to what's going on, not to follow some guided visualization, not to follow some guided meditation or anything like that. Maybe you feel disconnected is because you're using these tools and these resources that, I mean, essentially all things were, think about this as I'm like flinging around this knife. All things essentially were created by another human being just like you. That's it. They came out of a womb the same way you did. They had to learn how to poop and pee on their own just like you did. They had to figure it out on their own. So all these rules and these tools that you're using came from another human who figured out that this tool and this process works for them and shared it with other people. That does not make it right or wrong. It's just put that into context that it's not like any human being out there is God or the universe. They're just like, hey, here's a tool that I use that helped me through this process in my life. Maybe it helps you too. So what I'm encouraging you to do is, if you feel disconnected or you feel lost or you're searching, you're like seeking out like answers and direction, throw all your tools and strategies out the window and connect to yourself. Okay, so on that note, we just sliced up the Delicata squash. It is on the pan. You can see how I did this. They're little, I guess it's like a 1/4 inch. I don't know, but you can see it on the pan, the size of it. So now I'm going to take this coconut oil spray, spritz the tops of these. You could also take olive oil and a brush and just brush the tops of them with olive oil, but I don't really feel like pulling it out, and this is more convenient. And it's organic, don't worry. It's just organic coconut oil in the form of a spritz. Okay, so apparently it makes a cup too. So we spritz the top of that. Now we are going to take a little bit of seasoning. This is just Himalayan pink sea salt, which I love. I also put sea salt in my water all the time. Fun fact. I know you're watching this, you're like, that's a lot of salt. It's really not. You have to actually add more salt than you think to your food because the food absorbs a lot of it and actually pulls the water out, which the point I was getting to is the reason I put Himalayan sea salt in my water is because it binds to the water molecules so that it actually gets in your cells and it becomes a driver of hydration. So anyways, we did salt. Now I am using a pepper grinder, kind of putting some black peppercorn on there. Those of you that are listening to this and not watching this, that's what you are hearing is the pepper grinder. Then I'm just going to take this all-purpose seasoning salt and I'm going to throw it on top. I'm almost out of this. It's nothing fancy. Literally just go to your grocery store and find where it says all-purpose seasoning salt. It's got like garlic. Speaking of, now it's out. It's got like garlic, paprika. What else is in this? Garlic, paprika, onion powder, and that's it. So there you go. We're out of that, so it's trash. Okay, I'm going to put this in the oven. So total cooking time at 400 degrees is 20 minutes. However, I'm going to put this in the oven. I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes, pull it back out. Then we're going to flip these over so they both get nice. Both sides get nice and brown. And then I'm going to put it back in. While this is cooking, we're going to continue this conversation. So let's go in the oven, 400 degrees. I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. Set. Okay. So we're going back to this conversation. So with tools, with meditation, everything that you have to kind of work things out. You can hear me drinking my salt water. My whole point in this is our human experience is solo to ourselves. The reason we struggle sometimes with feeling disconnected or longing to belong is because a lot of times we are denying ourselves of our own human experience because we are trying so hard to follow the strategies, the advice, the tools, and the processes that worked for everybody else. When what is happening, say you're doing all these things and you're like, none of this is working. And this has happened to all of us where we're like, I don't understand. I'm doing all these things. I'm meditating. I'm visualizing. I'm following the rules. And yet still it feels like nothing is working and nothing is happening. Well, maybe because that's not what your soul needs. So what I encourage you to do, throw it all out the window and sit with yourself alone in the experience. Here's why that is super important, is because a lot of times your soul, your own intuition and inner guidance is probably screaming at you, telling you everything that you need to know, but you continue to escape your own experience through all these other things that are just a distraction, or there are other things that worked for other people. And like, I actually, if I buy a new book, I'll like flip through it real quick. If it has exercises in it, like here's how to connect to your intuition, I won't read the book. I can't do step instructions like that. I don't like it because it makes me feel like I'm in a box and it's like a forced process on how I have to learn and do things. And that doesn't always work for me. So a lot of times, and actually I think most people learn this way. I learn through other people's stories and then I check in with myself and my inner guidance. So with that, I feel like so often in society, like everybody is running around looking for connection. Truthfully, I mean, we're looking for connection to ourselves, we're looking for connection to others, we're looking for connection to our work, to how we spend our time, to our loved ones. Like, we're all seeking this connection. And the irony is, the only way to do that is to stop looking for it outside of ourselves and to start to connect to ourselves. And the reason why so many people ignore this, and like I said, there's different forms of escapism in how we do this. You can escape by staying busy and never being present. You can escape by scrolling social media instead of sitting with your own thoughts for a few minutes. You can escape by always being around other people and never being alone. You can use alcohol, you can use drugs, you can use other kinds of addictive behaviors to escape your own personal experience. And why in the world would we want to do that? Well, because to be in your own personal experience is sometimes super painful. Sometimes if your present life is not what you want, I think the worst feeling in the world is to feel alone when you are surrounded by other people. To be in a relationship and to feel alone. To be surrounded by friends and feel alone. And the reason you feel alone is not necessarily because, like, in the reality you are alone, but it's because you are in relationships or friendships or situations that aren't connected to your true self. They're just there. It doesn't even fill you up anymore, but the only way to recreate the connection is not to continue to have more friends or to get into another relationship. It's to take the time to connect to yourself and actually see what is true and authentic to you. So we escape these experiences and we do all these things desperately searching outside of ourselves for connection, because to sit in our present reality and have our full human experience, and what I mean by having the full human experience is to be present to the emotions of the experience that you're in, can be overwhelming, especially if it's linked, if you're unhappy, if you're miserable, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, if you're lost, if you're confused, all these things. To actually choose to sit and experience the emotions of your own soul behind that, of course people are escaping it because it's super scary and it's overwhelming to sit with yourself and to recognize and acknowledge, holy shit, I am really not happy. Like, to accept the weight of that, or like, oh my God, how did I get to this place? How did I get so far away from myself? To experience that, I mean, that's life-changing. That's like a whole slap in the face. That's like you do end up waking up feeling like you got hit by a bus and an emotional hangover, because you're like, I am accepting and acknowledging that the life that I am living is not at all in alignment with who I am. And actually it was an interview or a talk, I don't really remember, with Jim Carrey, and he was speaking on depression, and he was talking about how depression essentially is your soul stopping everything that it's doing, because it's like this avatar that you have created that I have been performing as for however many years, I can't do it anymore. I'm tired. And that's what a lot of us do, is we create this identity, this persona, this personality. And I mean, I'm speaking to myself too. Like, I have done this. We do it, we're performing. There's a difference between performing and being, and you can feel it. One of them is exhausting to where you're like, okay, I need to go sit by myself at home now for 3 days because, like, I can't be on anymore. And when you feel that way, you know you're functioning from a place of just performing. When you're being and all you're doing is being your most authentic, genuine self, it doesn't drain you. It doesn't drain you, and it doesn't leave you feeling disconnected. And it's the same thing when you're around people who you are truly being the real you, and people who you are just performing as who you have built yourself to be out of protection, out of acceptance, out of whatever it is that you need. So he was talking about how, like, when people get to the point of depression, it is usually because they have become so disconnected and out of alignment from their true self that the body is like, I can't keep performing as this avatar that you have built anymore. Can we please stop the performance and just be who we really are? The only way to get that connection and to get to that place, though, is to sit with yourself, be in your experience, connect to your experience, and to stop trying to use all these other tools and strategies that everybody else is using. More than likely, and to be totally honest, you probably don't need another coach. You probably don't need another book. What you need is yourself, and to sit with that and connect with that and see what that inner person is saying. We got 2 minutes. I was like checking. I'm like, I feel like it's almost there that we got to flip the butternut squash over, but We got 2 minutes. Anyways, so some of the strategies about this, I'm like, wow, that was very contradicting. Throw all the strategies out. Here's some strategies about this. They're not really strategies. It's more of like how you even throw all those strategies out and connect to yourself. It's not that difficult. Just spend time alone. Spend time alone. I was having a great conversation with somebody yesterday because I was talking about how I don't trust people who can't be alone. And the reason being is because if you can't be alone with you, why do I want to be alone with you? If you are so busy with making sure that you are always connected to other people and talking to other people and you never spend time alone, it worries me of like, what are you avoiding in the aloneness with yourself? And maybe it's not other people. Maybe you can't be alone with your thoughts and you're staying busy with all these lists and these tasks, because to be alone would be to acknowledge and recognize your truth, which so many people avoid. But I was having a great conversation about that because I was like, we were talking about the dating world, and I was like, if somebody cannot be alone, and I'm not talking about you don't have any friends, but like if you can't spend a day alone, that is a red flag for me. That is a problem for me, because how in the world do I know that like you are comfortable with what you find in that aloneness? It's important that we all feel comfortable and safe in being alone. All right, I'm going to pull these out. The butternut squash, we're going to pause this conversation and we're going to flip it over, and then we're going to go back to this, but I'm going to show you what it kind of looks like when we flip it over. I do recommend that you use a fork, because I can't tell you how many times I have burned myself using my fingers, and honestly that might still happen, but whatever, we're going to go with it. All right, so oven is staying on. We are still going to put it back in there. I hope this doesn't happen. Oh yeah, these look good. For some reason, when I cooked these the first time, that's all I did. What you just saw is just like pulled it out of the oven real quick and put it back in. My smoke detector went off for no reason. It's not even smoky in here. Okay, so you're gonna flip all these over. If you can see this in the camera, they're kind of getting like browned on one side, and I don't know if you're excited about this, but I'm excited about this, and this is why I like these. You can see the consistency of it is kind of like a French fry, kind of like a potato wedge, I suppose. But yeah, so you're just gonna flip all of these over, and all we're gonna do is just put a little more salt and pepper. And see, this is why I use my fingers, because sometimes these things are stubborn and they don't want to flip over. We're gonna put a little more salt and pepper on the other side when we flip it over, and then we're just gonna pop it back in the oven. This is so simple and easy, and normally the way I do this, like if I'm making this for dinner or for lunch, it's very easy. I'll throw this in the oven while I I don't know, whip up a salad, or maybe I'm doing some sauteed sweet potatoes for some good complex carbohydrates. Maybe I'm like just cooking some chicken or salmon on the top, or not the top, yeah, on the stove top. Okay, so these are all flipped over, taking my Himalayan sea salt, salting all these, using my pepper grinder, putting some pepper on this. I'm very curious how this is going to translate as a podcast. I mean, I don't know, I kind of like stuff like this. I used to listen to, so back when I was a sommelier, a level 3 som, the way that I learned a lot of the stuff that I needed to learn. Actually, you know what, we'll spritz some more coconut oil, because why not? There we go. Okay. What I was going to say is the way that I learned so quickly, a lot of it, is I listened to a lot of podcasts and YouTube videos on wine education, but when I was driving, it was actually kind of fun, because hearing them talking about the terroir in these different places, my mind and my imagination was able to kind of like create its own image and visualization and all those things. So maybe that's the experience on the podcast side. I don't really know. Okay, so I'm throwing these back in the oven, and then I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes, and then we're going to go right back to this whole conversation about connecting to yourself. If Bear makes a debut, you might see him, because normally when I'm recording these podcast episodes, I'm doing it in the comfort of like an office setting, so it's very quiet and uninterrupted, but he is here, so you might see him too. Okay, so going back to this whole thing about connecting to yourself and your own experience, I wish there was like a way Like, I think the biggest thing is, and I mean, I'm speaking personally also from working with a lot of people, I wish there was a way to just like take the inner child in all of us that is scared to death of not being loved, not being accepted, looking stupid, doing things wrong, like, because that's really, and I mean, I'm doing so much inner child work on myself, to be totally honest, but like, I just think about this because it's like deep down, all of us are walking around as adults, but really we're still that little kid. We just have an adult body now. If you hear that, that is Bear scratching at the door. No. I'm talking to all these people right now about connecting to themselves, so you're gonna have to be patient. No? Okay. Anyways, but I feel like it is all our inner child. Like, I wish there was a way that like we could all just sit down with our inner child and be like, hey, you're safe. You're loved. There's nothing wrong with you. What you're seeking with all this connection in your work, in your relationship, in your friendships, in your life is simply you trying to connect to your true self. That's the truth. And it is okay. And like the fear is, and at least like, I talked a little bit about this on the first podcast when I was talking about how like selling the business and selling abs, I did have a little bit of a fear around it because there was an identity and a persona attached to that. And identity is like this Shark Tank entrepreneur, and identity is like this business person, and like all these expectations of who I was supposed to be, everything that was attached to that. And the fear in letting go kept me in it a lot longer than I wanted to be. But also there's a deeper part of like, if I'm not that person anymore, what's going to happen? Will I lose my friendships? Will I lose all of this? And I think that's a lot of the reasons why so many people feel disconnected, is because we all have our inner voice. We all have this part of us that is constantly telling us the truth of who we are. That's like, hey, I know how to make you happy. I know what you really want in this life. I know how to connect you to your truest self, except for we are terrified. We are terrified because we're like, oh my God, if I am that person though, if I am really that person that is going on the inside, what is everybody else going to think? Is anybody going to love that version of me? Because the only experience we have is people loving the version of ourselves that we have built. But what I will say to all of that is you are the only person that can bring that connection back to yourself though. Like, we abandon ourselves so much simply out of expectations for society, or to get what we want because we're scared that if we actually stepped into our true selves and connected to our true selves, then other people will abandon us. So instead of having other people abandon us, we abandon ourselves and we limit or play small, or we become this person that we think we need to be to avoid abandonment, to avoid pain, to avoid loss and failure and all these other things. But the weird thing about life, and I've touched on this before, the weird thing about life though is like that will only work for so long before life, the universe, your soul is like, hey, you need to learn to love yourself. You need to learn to be your most authentic and true self. And the only way we can get you to do that and see that is by removing all these other relationships, friendships, job, situations, and circumstances that are not in alignment with your true self. Otherwise, if you keep getting validated by these things, you will continue to be the person that is not you. So like we experience then the pain and the loss and the grief of our entire life falling apart, or like hitting a rock bottom. However, the beauty in everything falling apart and everything breaking is we actually end up finding who we truly are to begin with. It's like the whole, there's a song, I think it's Selena Gomez, that's great. It's called like, I Had to Lose You to Find Me. But there's so many like paradoxes in life where we feel like we're losing everything. And in reality, like what we're losing is the version of ourselves that was never even real. So we lose all of that and we end up finding everything we were seeking from all of those situations. So I wanted to touch on this just because like, I don't know, I've had so many conversations this week with people about this who are like seeking connection, and they feel lost and they feel like they're not heard, or they feel disconnected from their work or their partner or whatever it is. And sometimes the reality is, sometimes it does involve like dismantling your entire life, depending on how much of your life is built off a false version of you. But sometimes it just involves you reconnecting to yourself and showing up in all of these situations as your true self. And it's kind of scary because like you can do that and then you never know. You might show up of like, all right, this is the real me. Like, I want to be in this kitchen and I want to cook you guys food and talk about life. And then you can get, and you guys honestly, I mean, the beautiful thing is like, I'm doing enough work and I've done enough work that if you guys hate this, it's fine because I'm having a lot of fun with you right now. But what could happen is I can be like, all right, I'm putting my real self out there. I'm going to be my real self. And you could do this too. And you're going to be like, I'm going to just show the world who I really am. And you get met with like, what is happening to you? What is wrong with you? Like, I don't like this. Like, what happened to this woman or this guy that I've known? And like, what's going on with it? And you might be met with rejection. But when you learn to constantly come back to yourself, come back to your center, come back to your true core and love your true self, be your true self and connect to your true self, then the tables turn and you no longer need all of that acceptance and validation and love and approval because you've learned to get it from yourself. That's the amazing thing. Like, everybody does this. We all do this. We seek connection from outside of ourselves all the time. And then when we go within, we throw it all out the window and we're like, you know what? Screw it. Like, I don't care. I don't care what anybody else thinks anymore. I don't care about any of these other things. I no longer can keep going on as this version that is not truly me. And we're like, all right, I'm going within. I'm connecting to who I am. I'm going to be who I truly am. And then all of a sudden we are flowing and we're being and we're just letting our true self shine. Everything else kind of falls into place. Yes, there is a process of things falling away. And yes, it is painful. And yes, you experience grief and loss in the letting go. But you're opening yourself up to so much more happiness, fulfillment, connection, joy, and real relationships that you never would have had if you continued on the path that you were already on. Man, my gut is 2 minutes again. Like, I was like, I have a feeling we're almost there. And like, sure enough, it's back at 2 minutes on the timer. I love when that happens. Trust your gut. So what's going to happen is we are going to pull this butternut squash. Butternut squash? We're not cooking butternut squash. Wow. Delicata squash. We're going to pull the delicata squash out of the oven. We're going to wrap this up. You're going to go try this recipe. That is one thing I wanted to say. However many episodes of this podcast you have listened to, however many videos of mine that you have watched, I'm not super concerned about. What I want you to do is after you watch this, don't just hoard information. Take this information and do something with it. Empower yourself in your own life. Go buy a freaking delicata squash. Try out this recipe just to get used to trying new things, just to get used to taking information and implementing it into your own life. Go block out social media for a day or a week or whatever and sit with yourself for 20 minutes in silence and just check in and be like, what is going on inside of me? Take the information and the wisdom you're given and go implement it in your own life. You don't actually know if this delicata squash tastes anything like French fries unless you go make it for yourself. I could be totally full of shit and you might make this and be like, wow, that's terrible, Ashley. That doesn't taste anything like a French fry. And then I'm gonna be like, well, maybe I've just been eating it for so long that I convinced myself it tastes like a French fry. Okay, hopefully that was a little smoky, but hopefully that doesn't turn on my smoke detector. Okay, if you can see this, look at how delicious this looks. So we've got them nice and browned. All of them are like this. You can eat this entire thing. So I had a spatula here a second ago. This is my dishwasher. I'm just pulling some fresh dishes out of here. Okay, so here is why I like this, is because when you put it on a plate, you can see how much you get to eat for this whole thing. And it's like a pile of French fries. I mean, you could probably broil this. I don't really know. I've never tried it. This is just the easiest way that I know to do this. Here we go. That is the whole plate. Oh, I dropped one. No. Okay. Bear's trying to eat it. That is the whole plate of delicata squash. It tastes, the consistency is kind of like, obviously it's a little squishier than French fries because it's squash, so the water content is higher. But I like to make this, like I said, with like sweet potatoes, salmon, chicken sandwich with a little bit of like goat cheese and avocado. Like, guarantee you could probably feed, I don't have kids, but if you had kids, you could probably feed this to them and just be like, oh, or don't tell them they're healthy. Oh, they're new French fries. And they might hate it or they might love it. That's how you make that though. The nutrition, if you eat this whole thing, like I said, is like 150 calories and like 5 grams of carbs because it's just a starchy vegetable. Anyways, wrapping this whole thing up with connecting to yourself. Spend time alone. Make this recipe with yourself and just connect. Go sit in the room by yourself. Go work out by yourself. Turn off the noise. Turn off the music. Turn off the social media. Turn off all of it and see what is going on inside, and then be brave enough to listen and take action on everything that you already know internally and intuitively. That is the only way you're going to find the connection that you seek. All right? Let me know what you thought about this. Do you like the recipe? I liked the recipe. I thought this was fun. This was more fun for me to talk to you guys from the kitchen than to do something traditional like a little co-working space. Also, if you did not get the email that I said I sent out at the very beginning of this, where I was like, I sent this out and you guys responded, 2 things probably happened. 1, it either went to your junk or spam email, so check that. Or 2, you didn't ever sign up for it. If you want to receive those emails, go to ashleydrummons.com. The link is in the description and the show notes. There's a lot of places on there that you can sign up. Also, screenshot this and tag me in it. I love it. I respond to every single one of them. Those of you who have been doing that, thank you so much for doing that. It makes me so happy. And in the meantime, I promise every single week I'll be knocking out these episodes for you. I'll probably do more recipes since you guys seem to love that. More things with recipes in life. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for those of you who are listening, and I will see you in next week's Phoenix Rising episode. Bye.